We are now live, everybody. Welcome to the podcast today. Um, Happy Monday to you as well too. Appreciate you tuning in. Now today on the podcast, I actually had ran into a video that a famous YouTuber had post I think almost like a week ago. The YouTuber that I'm talking about, her name is Just Pearly Things. If you're not familiar with Just Pearly Things, commentary and her content, by all means, go over to her YouTube channel and check her out. Um, she recently did a podcast, right, with a panel, and so her podcast was talking about um, modern day feminism, right? And so today, what I'm going to do, I'm going to share a certain segment that she had on her podcast. Now, this segment that I'm going to present to y'all today, this segment was talking about in regards to should men have the final say so in relationships. Once again, this particular segment is on dealing with should men have the final say so in relationships. All right. So we're gonna want to review this particular segment. We're gonna review it. I'm gonna give my own commentary about it as well too. How the way I personally believe that what should happen. In other words, should men have the final say so or not? So we're gonna review this. We're gonna want to break this thing down, and we're just gonna go for there. All right. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this commentary pulled up, and we're gonna just jump into this. All right.
Man's place is to look after me, make sure he's got my best interests at heart, and he has to make the final decision, which improves both of us. His final decision will always be in my benefit.
So when he's not there to look after you, who's looking after you?
I make sure that I've got a man. So any decision I make, even for me being on the podcast, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. Because before I decided to come on the podcast, I asked his permission. People might think that's really strange. I said, "What is your permission? What do you think about it? This is what I'm going to do." And there's certain things he didn't like. So I told Pearl, you know what? I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't do whatever. And then we came to a conclusion. But the final decision is always his. And I trust him with it because he'll always have my best interests at heart.
All right, so for this other lady, she's also a content creator too. Her name is Auntie, I believe. But she was asked on the panel one about should her husband give her permission to do certain things, and her response is that yes, she believed that that she should ask for permission for her husband to do certain things, like for example she used by her being a guest on Just Pearly Thing podcast, right? She had asked him for permission. He had certain um guidelines or parameter prior before her going on there, but ultimately, as you can see, he approved her permission with going on the podcast. So once again, I'm asking y'all this question to my viewers: do you believe that um, should a woman ask their man for permission to do certain things? All right, this is the topic of the discussion. All right, so let's go.
And maybe,
I'm a trained mechanic.
and maybe that's because you got a good man.
Yeah.
Wait, what? Hold on. Even if you're a good man, that sounds ridiculous.
Yeah, maybe because I can't do what you just said. I can't. Because that's you putting all the trust.
Yeah, I want to hear why.
Why? Because why would you need permit? Like, there might be boundaries within the relationship. So, for instance, like, I don't want you to do like a Pearl like strip show dance thing with like male strippers. Like, I can understand that because that's like boundaries of the relationship. But in terms of like, I need your permission to do a show because I like if your boyfriend or husband or whatever, if he's not like in this world, you probably know better than he does. Like, what's better for you? I'd imagine.
But
right?
the thing is, we're both not in this world. We both don't know about social media.
Actually, the point that the blue hair guy name is Destiny. Actually, the point that he made, I actually have to agree with him on that. Because when it comes to situations like that, it's more so of a respect thing. You know what I'm saying? You're not trying to um ask for permission to do certain things as though as you are that person's child, you that other one grown adult child, but you're doing it more as a respect thing versus, setting different boundaries up. You know what I'm saying? Like the example that Destiny gave and stuff, like say for example, you're going to a club or whatever, you know that um in this atmosphere of going to a club with a group of friends, sorry, you know that in this setting that it's going to be a lot of single people there that's going to try to make advances to you. So more so that's more of a boundary thing than trying to ask for permission to do something. All right. And I'm gonna give you my a deeper perspective about that shortly.
He didn't, and it's blown up.
Well, but you're in this world now, right?
Right.
Yeah, but I still had his permission, so there might be certain things that have developed since me being on the podcast that he doesn't agree with.
But how
so
do you
I
know
will
he's
cut
got your
them
best
back.
interest at heart?
I mean, if you pick a good guy, I mean,
He's a good guy.
yeah.
But imagine if he didn't have a good guy. So
yeah,
all
this
the
is what I'm
women that
trying
are
to
trapped
say.
in abusive
Well, and also you never
relationships,
know if you have a good guy
and
until
suddenly they
you don't.
have
And can
the
I just
agency to
say,
leave that.
don't you know yourself better than anyone?
No, not necessarily, because I'm human. I got bad things and I got good things. I'm just as bad as anybody else. And I will always take other people's opinions. And then when he says stuff, I don't always take it as hard as Pearl knows, because thanks to Pearl, I sorted out a few problems where I've had to stop being stubborn.
But you've
Bitch.
given
But
another
before-
human
sorry, can I
authority
say
over your
before-
decision making in life.
Sorry, can
You've
I
given
just
someone else
add
that
something
power.
onto that? Auntie, what you said is the exact same situation with me. I have a fiance, and I would not come up here unless I've spoken to him about it, and he's actually agreed with it. So the only reason why I'm sitting here is because my fiance doesn't have a problem with me sitting here.
But can I ask you something, right? When you go out on the street, which a lot of people don't recognize, when you go out and you dress and you speak, who do you represent when you go out? As
Your
a woman
man.
in a relationship.
Your man.
Let me pause it right there before Auntie get to her next point. Now this other lady, she's saying this. She's saying that she do the same exact thing that's what Auntie does, where she basically communicate with her fiance about her intentions. All right. Now once again, I agree with the point that you should communicate your relationship. Absolutely, you should. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. But for us, like in the point of trying to ask for permission about to do a certain thing, right? Now this is where I have to question the intent behind it. Okay. The reason why I have to question the intent behind it is that. Like once again, like I stated earlier, or if you're doing something like, say for example, you're going to do something with your homegirls or your best friend, whatever stuff, right? And y'all going to like a club or you going to some type of setting, right? Where you know that you're either in a relationship, you're either engaged or you're married, but you're going into this type of setting where you know it's going to be a lot of single people involved in it, right? And you have to ask for permission to do that. To me, that's questioning the intent behind it, because common sense will let you know that if you're in a committed relationship, right, where if you're married, you're engaged, or wherever your situation is within your relationship, right, just like what Destiny stated earlier, there are certain boundaries that you shouldn't cross, meaning that you shouldn't, if you're in a relationship, you shouldn't even want to participate in any type of single activity whatsoever. Whether that's going to a lounge or a bar with your homegirls or your friends or wherever it may be, whether it's going to a club, whether it's going to any of these type of social settings where it's going to compromise your integrity of your relationship, that should automatically be a no. And furthermore, even if your friends were to ask you to do something like this, right, that should automatically be a red flag with your friends, because your friends or family, whoever the case may be, they don't respect your relationship. They do not respect it, period. Now, on the flip side, it could be on something different where same situation where, saying the friends or whatever, they invite you to go out to, the same setting, right? But however, they invited you and your significant other out together as a couple to attend the event. Now that's different because y'all are actually there together and they're being considerate. They're considered to say like, hey, my friend is happily married or whatever the case may be, or they're in a good relationship. I don't want to do nothing to compromise the integrity of their relationship. So I'm going to put them in a position where they will be where their boundaries will be respected, and they will be comfortable as well too. Now that situation is totally different. Now if they decide as a couple whether or not they're gonna do that, then that's up to them. But for us, I'm trying to my friends asked me to go and do this, and common sense would tell you that, hey, I'm in a relationship, I don't want to do it. And that drops a red flag to me because there's, like I say, other intentions behind it. Deep down inside, that person is asking for their significant other to do something is because that's something that they really want to do. They really do want to put themselves out there so they could be recognized by other single people. That's where it boils down to. Because deep down inside, they feel like they probably feel like that they're missing out on something, or whatever the case may be. If they have this opinion or have this in their mind that this is something that they consider doing, that is a automatic red flag right off the bat. But yes, let's continue. Let me back just a little bit.
Authority over your decision making in life.
Yeah. Sorry, can I add something onto that? Auntie, what you said is the exact same situation with me. I have a fiance and I would not come up here unless I've spoken to him about it and he's actually agreed with it. So the only reason why I'm sitting here is because my fiance doesn't have a problem with me sitting here.
But can I ask you something, right? When you go out on the street, which a lot of people don't recognize, when you go out and you dress and you speak, who do you represent when you go out? As a woman in a relationship.
Your man, your husband.
Right. So when you're at school and you're in uniform, you represent the school.
Yep.
When you go out as a child, you represent your parents.
Yep.
If you have a man, you represent your man. Right. You're a couple. So people are going to know that if he sees you on a podcast and you're doing God knows what, you're going to represent him. People are going to know that's so-and-so's woman. Yeah. So you have to listen to him. You don't he doesn't tell me what to do, but I have to take his feelings into account.
Yeah, wait.
Facts. I agree to this too. And this is going, and she's speaking from the perspective of being a content creator as well too. Now remember on my previous shows that I did, preferably throughout the end of towards the last 3 or 4 months of 2022, right? I was speaking heavily about content creators being like cyberbullying and stuff, or participating in cyberbullying and stuff like that. Then I also made the choice to no longer participate in that, right? The reason why I made the choice to do that, it wasn't because of that I was scared or what was happening in the situation or anything like that and stuff. The main 2 reasons why I made a choice and decision to do that is because, first of all, just what Auntie just said a few moments ago, is that when I'm on here on this platform, right, I'm representing not only myself, but I'm also representing my wife as well, Mrs. Urban. So there are certain things that I would talk about, right? That I would talk about, and it would straddle the fence on it just so it could create clout or controversy. That's part of being a content creator. That's one thing. Okay. But it's a whole different level where you taking it to a whole nother level where you sitting up here bullying people. Because once again, when I'm on this platform, I'm not only representing myself, I'm representing my family, I'm representing my wife. Furthermore, I'm also representing my children as well too. Because yes, my family, my friends, and my children do watch my shows. And I had stated that. So yes, I agree to that. We are a living representation as content creators. That's why I am so adamant about us as being content creators to make sure that we putting out quality content for the viewers. It shouldn't be where the viewers is controlling you to dictate to you what type of content you should come out with so they can feel good about themselves. No, it's the other way around. You're the content creator. And furthermore, you have to understand too that whatever we put on this platform, right, it is going to be bound by life. People going to see about life. This is also, to be honest with y'all, this is also another reason why I am totally against men and women who participate in platforms such as OnlyFans. For the simple fact that that is a representation of not only you, not only your brand, but it's also a representation of your family too. I have heard countless of stories, especially children, right? Where, say, for example, these modern day women, right? They have children, they have sons, they have daughters. And just so happened one day, their friends just so happened seen a clip on OnlyFans or IG or whatever stuff, right? And seeing their mom posted halfway naked or naked on her. And it becomes a conflict because now their child is being cyberbullied. All because of a choice of decision that their mom or their father decided to make. But people don't think about that. People be thinking about themselves instead of thinking about about the whole broad perspective, the overall perspective. People be in tunnel vision instead of understanding like, hey, if I do these certain things, how's this going to impact not only me, but how's this also going to impact my loved ones as well too? But people don't think about that. People only think about the now, the moment, the now in it. Okay, so just like I say, I agree with on that. That's exact representation. Same thing for when we go out and we dress up and stuff, right? There's certain times where people they'll see me and stuff, right? I be dressed up, going to certain places and stuff like that because I know I'm representing not myself, but I'm representing Mrs. Urban and I'm representing my family too. But there be certain places where I be comfortable, where I'm just wearing t-shirt and jeans and stuff. Like if I'm going somewhere simple as going to a grocery store, I wouldn't be dressed totally hooded out, but I'll be at least decent because I know that I am a living representation of my family. Same thing with my wife, Mrs. Urban. She do the same as that thing. When she go out, she don't be going out, going out and not having her hair did and looking all weird and sloppy and stuff like that because she knows she's a representation of me and our family. So she always do her best to at least look modest and decent. She don't wear no tight revealing clothes to gain attention to herself neither. Same thing with me. I don't wear no revealing clothes, type of revealing clothes, or wear certain type of clothes or brand that would bring attention to myself. Okay? And so that's how the way it should be in the relationship. But let's continue.
Do you flip that and to say does he represent you as well when he's doing stuff?
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
Well, then do you have authority over him to give him permission to do stuff or not?
Yeah, certainly.
He won't do anything.
No, but
we discuss everything.
See, even with this right here with Destiny, this is one thing that I disagree with what Destiny is doing. He's gonna do this not only this time, but in a later on in this clip, he's gonna do this again. He is doing the same thing that a lot of modern day women and beta males do, okay? Which is to deflect. Meaning that whenever it's a situation where we're talking about a specific situation, right? We're talking about women who doing this, right? But that same person would deflect and say, well, if the woman is doing this, well, what about the man? Should the man do this as well too? Common sense will tell you yes. Automatically, yes, he does that. It isn't, see, the thing about it is that in a relationship, there is no dictatorship in a relationship. At least it don't supposed to be a dictatorship in a relationship. There is a certain type of, if you want to call it a hierarchy, there is a certain type of hierarchy in a relationship. Which overall, and this is just my perspective, overall, the man should overall have the lead in the relationship. when it comes down to it, the overall ultimate decision making should rely on that man to make a determination, make a sound, reasonable determination on that relationship. Period. Give you another example. Once again, with me and my marriage, okay, there'd be plenty of times where I would go and confide into Mrs. Irby about certain situations that I believe that I want to do. It is not so that I'm asking for permission for her to do it, but out of respect, I'm letting her know the situation, and I'm letting her know the intentions behind it, and I'm letting her know about either the benefits or risks behind it as well too, so she'll know. So when it comes down to the situation and things don't pan out the way that I planned it to happen, she be already prepared for it. Likewise, same thing with her. When she come and confide to me about a certain situation or certain decisions that she want to make, she come and talk to me about it. She say, "Hey, babe, look, I want to do this. I want to do this, that, and that. How do you feel about this? What do you think that I should do about this situation? How do you think I should perceive about that?" And I give her my perspective about it. I don't tell her, no, you shouldn't do that. But what I do as a man and also being a leader is that I give her different perspectives about it. I'll say, okay, babe, okay, so because have you considered this? Have you considered this, that, or that? Or have you considered this? Maybe you should try this and this approach or this direction. Maybe it'd be more beneficial. Then it be times where she'll either agree with what I'm saying or she'll disagree with it, and she'll do it the original way. But she would tell me that. She would be straight up blunt and honest with me, like, no, I'm going to do it this way. And when she gonna make that decision to do it this way, guess what I do? I don't get mad. I don't get upset about it, nothing like that. I say, okay, do it the way that you feel like that is beneficial. Now, I do communicate to her. If it be times that it be something that I don't agree with her, right? I tell her, like, well, I don't agree with it, but if that's your plan that you want to do, go ahead and do it. And she do it. And it be times where she do it, it be beneficial. It be times where she do it, it be very risky, and it doesn't be beneficial at all. But at the end of the day, the reason why I'm saying is because at the end of the day, when you're in relationships, right, relationships comes with choices, consequences, risk, and all that stuff. And at the end of the day, it's for you as a couple to absolutely trust each other with the process. That's where it boils down to.
Thing. It works both ways.
But you said you have your
But he has the final decision.
It's not equal. You said
he
you
has
have your
the
place.
final decision.
Guys, we need one at a time. Auntie, finish your point.
Yeah, he has the final decision. If he's going to do something and he says, "Oh, I'm going to do that," and I'm like, "Do you know what? I don't agree with that," because it's been so long, 32 years and counting. Because it's been so long, he will know that there must be a reason behind it that I don't agree with him. Now he will either listen to me, as I would do him, because I don't have to take everything he says as gospel. It's up to me whether to take it or not.
But you're
and 9 times out of 10,
years.
I will listen to him rather than listen to my friends.
But look,
because women will finally listen to their friends.
What about most of us that haven't had 32 years? And so are you saying that I've been with my man 2 years and I must, what he says goes? This is what my struggle is.
What I'm trying to say is
you've been able to build that trust. You've been able to know that he's got your best interest at heart.
Yeah.
You've been able to know that he has your right intentions. But most of us haven't had 32 years to practice all that.
Do you know that?
See, and another thing where her comment is that she's trying to look at it as far as the years being together, and she's thinking from a perspective, thinking that the longer you're in a relationship, the better it is for you to get to that point of that. But however, my pushback on it is that if you know as a person, as a woman, or as a man, if you know you're not in that level of building that absolute trust towards another person or towards another human being, guess who's accountable for that? It is you who are accountable for that. So that is you who have to practice that. You have to want to practice that. You have to want to practice and perfect to get you to the point to where you absolutely trust that person, where you're comfortable trusting that person. But it takes time and it takes dedication on your part. It takes also for you to understand that the relationship that you're entering into right now, it is not going to be the same relationship like you did in your previous. And that is something that a lot of, especially modern day women, be holding on to. They be sitting up here holding on to this unnecessary baggage from prior relationships and comparing it to the current relationship. And therefore they be saying, since I made certain choices and decisions in this prior relationship, I'm not going to do it in this current relationship. But what happens is that they end up enabling the relationship, you know what I'm saying, in other words. Or enable's not a good word. They end up self-destructing the current relationship because they set up comparing and contrasting that. And they set up having all this unnecessary baggage. So to deviate from that, right, the best solution to deviate from that is for them to go and figure out all the triggering points, all the trauma that happened to them in their relationship and fix it. Prior before going into a current new relationship, fix it. If it takes for them going into, seeking therapy or anything like that for them to do it, by all means do it. So that way and that way you can work on yourself to build yourself up to get to the point to where Auntie is talking about, where she's saying she had absolute trust and faith in her husband and the decision maker that her husband is making for her.
Can't adopt your position.
Can I say something? Do you know something, right?
Yep.
You as a woman would know within the first 6 months whether that man is for you.
I can't say
Facts.
that. I married a man that
I would know.
didn't end up being the same man.
Me personally, I would know. I was a single parent, just like you. I was a single parent. And we split up. But when I met him back, he was a single parent. So I know that anything he says, if it jars in my heart, I have to think to myself, you know what, that don't feel right. Let me discuss it. But if I think to myself, I am not going to be at a detriment, then I'll go with it because it's not harming me. So if I think in my head as a woman that what he's saying doesn't benefit me or harms me, I will discuss it. And then, because it's not the fact that, what he says goes. I will discuss it with him and I want to hear where he's coming from. Because, all right then, for instance, you've got a man and both of you have a favorite artist. And the favorite artist gives you 2 free tickets to go. And then your man...
Hold on, before she get to this point too. All right. So, and that's another one point that I want to make too about relationships. And I absolutely agree with Auntie on this point as well too. Is that by common sense, right? By the strictly common sense, within 6 months, you should know exactly where you stand in a relationship. You should know exactly how the way your partner thinks in everything in a relationship. Now, is a relationship forever learning and all this stuff there? Absolutely it is. Because you're going to forever learn each other because that is part of the human experience. But basic common sense stuff that you know what your partner do. You know certain things that your partner would do. You know certain things that your partner won't do. You know certain things that would trigger your partner. You know certain things that wouldn't trigger your partner. You know certain boundaries that you shouldn't cross with your partner. You should know all that within 6 months of being in a relationship with them. That's 6 months. I'll say within 3 months of the relationship, you should already have a basic ideal if you want to be in a relationship with that person. And I'm just being real about it. Within 3 months, you should know if you want to spend the rest of your life with that person or not. Because they're like I say, and some people give me pushback on this, but to be honest with y'all, if there are any type of negative things or any type of traumatic thing that occurs in a relationship, there are always red flags that comes up every single time. Some people will sit up here and tell me this. Some people will say, "Well, you don't know that, Irby. You know, some people will be this one way, this way. The next way they'll fool you." No, that is a lie. That is a lie. There are always red flags that come up. Now, the thing about it is that some of these red flags will be very subtle. It'll start out very subtle. But the reason why people don't pick up on the red flags, and I'm just being real about it, the reason why people don't pick up on these red flags is for two reasons. It's because their need to want to be in a relationship, first of all, and their need to want to control the relationship. Them two reasons. Their need to want to be in a relationship, preferably with women, right? Sometimes women get so desperate that they want to be in a relationship, that they want to be married, that they will settle for even the subtle red flags. And the reason why they settle for the subtle red flags is for the second reason. Is because they believe that subtle red flag, that they could change that person. So they would tolerate it. And they would use their manipulative ways to try to change that person. True enough, it will work for a certain point, you know what I'm saying? But when the moment when things hit the fan, where that dude would sit up here and finally have a breaking point and say, "Hell no, I ain't doing this." Then what's gonna happen? Next thing you know, you're in a traumatic experience in this relationship. Same thing with men and stuff. Men pick up sort of red flags with women too. And men do the same exact thing for the two same reasons. For their need to want to be in a relationship and for their need to want to control the relationship. Same exact reasons. They'll pick up on those subtle red flags where they see that they woman while they dating their woman, so they see that the woman want to go to a fresh fancy restaurant every single time instead of cooking a home cooked meal. That's a subtle red flag, but in their mind they think that, well, I could change her. I could just taking her to cooking class, and so you'll go on and he'll introduce going on a date, which y'all want to take a cooking class. But that's his subtle way, or that's his manipulative way of trying to get that woman to learn how to cook. But it's a red flag. Another subtle red flag is that, and this is for the men too. This is for the man too. Another subtle flag also for this is that, man, if you pick up on how the way they, like, say for example, if that woman is a single mother, right, for whatever reasons, whether it's through divorce, whether it's whether she just had a moment and she had a oops moment, and next thing you know, she have a child, or she's a widow and she have children, right? Here's another subtle red flag. Pay attention to how the way that woman treat her children. If she treat her son as her equal, if she treat her sons as though her son is her man, that's an automatic red flag. If she treat her daughters, as they're her equal, that's a red flag. If she's that type of one woman that going around and cussing her children the hell out every single moment that she can and being abusive to her children, that's a red flag. But what happened is that, once again, men thinking that, hey, since I'm this type of stand-up guy, I could show her a better way. Meaning that he thinking in his mind that he could change that woman. And it may work for a moment. But when it hits to the fan, when we have it, like right now, we having this tough conversation. Should a man lead and all that stuff there? Should you get the final say so from a man? When it hit the fan and she don't agree with that, all of that manipulation and change and stuff is gonna go out the door. And that's where the problem start happening in a relationship. Kid y'all not. But let's continue.
And looks at Tigger and says, "You know what? You're not going. What would you do?"
This conversation couldn't happen with my man anyway.
No.
Honestly, I think the modern relationship is way too. The modern relationship that I'm looking for is way too equal in terms of opinion and position. There's a conversation. It's about what's making me happy. And if it's taking my best friend to that concert, he wants to see me smile and he wants to see me happy. That's what's going to happen in that concert.
But you didn't answer the question.
Even that, even in her comment there, like I say, that is an automatic red flag to me. Notice her stance behind it. She said that what makes her happy. Let me say that again. She said what makes her happy. What's wrong with that, Urban? She said that what makes her happy. That's what's wrong with that. Meaning that she's not considering what makes them happy. She's only considering her feelings and her feelings alone. She's not thinking about the broader perspective about them or us. What can we do to make each other happy? And that is another thing that messes up in relationships too. When you get into that area where you're thinking about only yourself, what makes only you happy, you are self-sabotaging that relationship because you're being selfish. Now, this don't have nothing to do with, now I know people going to say something about this. This don't have nothing to do with like self-care or anything like that. I'm not talking about self-care. Not talking about that. I'm talking about strictly in the dynamics of being in a relationship where you're doing things to make sure that both of y'all are happy in the relationship and you're doing your part in that. But if you're in that space, just like what this woman talking about, me, it's not going to work out. Only a beta male, just like she's saying that, my guy, he going to do this. And now only a beta male does that. Okay?
So the question was,
I asked you, what would you do?
Is like when he asks you to do something that you don't want to do.
or
to not go somewhere that you want to go to.
I will consider his feelings, but if it's in my best interest, I cannot put myself. The only man or the only being is God that can tell me by speech, by prayer, by whatever, by message.
That's also interesting too, and I expected her to say this too. I expected her to give that response. All right, I really did. Notice the question too, like, okay, if your significant other doesn't agree with you going to a certain place, right? How would you respond to that? She said this. Well, I just consider his feelings, but what that really means in translation is that I don't care what the hell you think about. I'm going to do what I want to do. Period. And I'm going to do it. Then to solidify her response, right, she's going to put it into the terms of religion. She's going to talk about, well, the only person that I really confide in it to is God. God is my final say-so. But I find that pretty interesting. And also when, people were part of the Christian belief system too, right? Who practice Christianity or practice these type of religious belief system, right? In a very belief system, it has a hierarchy. A matter of fact, I have a video that I'm premiering probably later today. That I'm premiering and stuff right there. I want y'all to take a look at, right? And I talk about this. I talk about how the way Christianity has a certain hierarchy and stuff, right? And how Christianity use the premises of religion, right, to control people. And the reason why I'm mentioning that is because that's my point, what I stated earlier, is that at the end, people want to be in control of the relationship instead of respecting it. So this is the reason why she said that the only person pretty much what she's saying is that the only person I would submit myself to is to God, because it does say it in the Bible.
God says, obey your husband.
Your man. The man's
He's
the
not
head.
my husband. This is what I'm trying to say. He's my man. He didn't put a ring on it.
But
That's what I'm saying about.
Then she also they're saying is that, hey, well, the Bible says you're supposed to obey your husband. So what's up with that? And her response to that is that, well, he didn't put no ring on it. It doesn't matter if he put a ring on it or not. It matters about the whole dynamic of the relationship. Regardless if he put a ring on it or not, if you say that you're in a committed relationship with a man, you're in a relationship. All a ring is just a symbol. That's it. A ring does not have no significant value whatsoever other than it just a symbol. That's it. This ring, like right now, I got this is my red ring. My red ring. You know what I'm saying? Ring. It has no value whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? It has no value whatsoever. None whatsoever. Other than it being a symbol. That's why it's very easy, like even when people who are married, right? That's why it's very easy for people to go out and commit infidelity in a relationship because the ring is not bounding that person. It's not the ring is not prohibiting that person from go out and cheat or do infidelity. The ring don't have nothing to do with that. It's your mentality that has everything to do with that. Not the ring. So her coming to my well, I ain't married, it don't have nothing to do with that. It have everything to do with you being a grown adult and respecting boundaries.
You should
Can't
be with
be.
him until you put the ring on it.
Right, but what I'm trying to say is, if I'm a feminist, what does it mean for me as a single woman? That's what I'm trying to understand from this conversation.
Okay, so can I try to add a little bit of context on it? Because it's like okay, so basically what they're saying is, okay, so yes, working, taking out the rubbish, doing all of these things are seen as masculinity, right? However, I don't think we're speaking in that regard because obviously these are things that have to be done. You have to take out the rubbish, you have to work, you have to do these things. But I think we're, especially as a single person, however, we're basically saying, but you're still a feminine. That doesn't make you masculine. What makes you masculine is when you're like, so let's put everything in context now. So I made the same statement as Auntie, right? So I'm going to put things into context. If I wanted to go shopping in Tesco's, for example, I don't need his permission because I'm going to Tesco's and I'm doing food shopping. If somebody invites me to a club or some kind of event, then I need to sit down and speak to him and explain to him where I'm going, what type of event it is, what kind of people are there. All right, let's say, for example, I put an outfit on and I put on a short dress and my breasts are revealing, okay? Now, if he says to me, you look nice, babe, go out and have a good time. As soon as he's finished that sentence, me and him are done. Because me, I can't be with a guy like that. To me, that's a simp.
Yeah, he's a simp.
So if my man or my husband says to me, you need to go back and you need to change because what you're wearing is inappropriate. Now, look, a lot of people will be like, no, why I can wear what I want if I want to wear, but you're not thinking because if you're going out with your husband, right? And you go to a club or a place and you're wearing a short skirt and your breasts are out, there's a huge possibility that you're going to put your husband in a situation.
No, but he's next to me. My man is next to me.
Okay, wait, let me land.
When you're talking,
let me land.
All right, so yeah, absolutely. I agree with her perspective about that as well too, because that goes back to what I was saying earlier. That you know, what I'm saying we are whenever you're in a relationship with somebody, y'all are representing each other. Okay, so there's certain one once again that deals with the boundaries. You know, what I'm saying that be set in relationships. So yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I absolutely agree with the whole concept about that, the whole concept about boundaries and everything. Okay. I agree. Absolutely.
Let me land, okay? So, for example, my fiance, right? If me and him went out to a place, and he wouldn't let me wear that anyway in the first place, but let's say he did, and we went out to a place, right? And a guy comes and taps my bum.
But why would he do that?
Because they do that.
What, because I'm wearing a short skirt?
Yes,
They do that.
yes, I've seen that many times.
But you can also do that in jeans too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, but still,
it's less likely.
if you're, it's less likely, right? And if he does do that,
If I had a BBL, you will tap my ass.
not necessarily, but look, we have to go by intentions. If I come to a place and I'm properly covered up, jeans, and a guy does that, he's getting smoked, right?
See, and also, she's trying to give the perspective about what I stated earlier, even about the intentions behind it. All right. So once again, like I stated earlier, okay, If you're sitting up here trying to get, first of all, trying to ask permission to go to a place where you know that the one atmosphere is going to put you in an uncomfortable situation, that is an automatic red flag, meaning that you already made the decision that this is something that you really want to do for whatever reason it is. Well, if you want that attention or whatever the case may be, you done already made the decision to do that. But what you're trying to do, you're trying to validate that by asking your one significant other for asking your significant other their perspective about it or their opinion about it. You know good and well that if you know your man very well, you know good and well that dude is going to say hell no to you. You know that. You know. But as she stated earlier, if that dude sit up here agree to it, not only agree to it, and you come down with a short skirt and everything, yeah, that dude he's a simp. He's a beta male simp. Because he's not fulfilling his masculinity role. Now, some men, especially beta males, they'll sit up here and say some crazy stuff like this. They'll sit up here and say like, "Well, that means that I feel secure about her. I'm not an insecure person." No, it don't have nothing. It don't have nothing to do about being insecure. Once again, it had everything to do with respecting each other, respecting boundaries. Because likewise, on the flip side, if the dude were to do the same thing, say, "Hey, I'm finna go out with the homies to get drinks and stuff, right? And we finna go to a club to get drinks." And next thing you know, this dude coming downstairs and he wearing stuff that he wear when he first met you and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Dressed all down real nice, got on cologne and everything, wearing this type of thing so he could get attention. And as a woman, you see him coming down and he's dressed like that, and you just give him a kiss, say, "Okay, babe, have a good time." That is a red flag. Meaning that you don't respect the boundaries of the relationship, and you also giving that dude permission to do whatever the hell you want to do. And it's like that, the same situation. Likewise, you know what I'm saying? It's like the man giving that woman permission to do whatever she want to do.
No ifs or but about it, because this girl is respecting herself. She's dressed up nicely, and you've come out of your way, yeah, and you've slapped her ass. Now, my fiance, if he was with me, right, and somebody did that, there's a huge possibility he's going to jail for life.
But then you're wearing tight jeans. Why not wear this on long skirt in it? If you're gonna do
You can
modest,
wear-
if
yeah,
you're gonna
you
do
can-
what modest,
you can wear a long
do what
skirt.
modest then.
Yeah, you
do
can
what
do it.
no
You can do it.
curves, no nothing.
You can.
That's
can
what
do
you
it.
should do then, because
No,
you're
wait.
calling for it also with the little tightness. And
No.
Okay, wait, getting away
Look.
from the clothes. Hold on, getting away
Look.
from the clothes. You guys, this is what I'm so confused about. And Auntie, you kind of did it and then walked to a more agreeable area. You guys talk about things that are basic relationship norms, but you like frame them in the most toxic way possible. I don't understand. So you talk about like, if I'm going to wear something and go out to a club,
Yeah.
my boyfriend, my husband, whatever, is going to approve of it, which it, to some extent like can make sense in a relationship context. But if you flip that around, if your boyfriend or husband says, "I'm going to go out to party," and there's like, 10 girls there and like 2 guys, I imagine you'd have to okay that, right? You'd have to tell him whether or not you give him permission to do that, no?
Yes.
Okay, so you guys frame these things like my husband is the ultimate authority and blah, blah, blah. But that's not true. For all of you guys, it's a back and forth. Like, you're going to be okaying what he does. He's going to be okaying what you do. That has nothing to do with masculinity or femininity or anything like that. That's just like 2 adults having a relationship, figuring out what the boundaries are.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what?
Yeah, like I say once again, I could agree with him on that perspective as well too, because ultimately that's where it boils. In this particular conversation, that's where it ultimately boiled down to is each other respecting boundaries of the relationship. Okay, because once again, there are certain things that you just cannot do in relationship. Period. Now, there are people out here, right, who are known as swingers, or there are people out here who have polygamous relationships or polyamorous relationship. There are people who are out here who have what is known as open relationships. Now, that is the only exception to the rule. Now, if your relationship is set on them type of boundaries, them type of things that I'm talking about right now, that is your relationship. But I'm pretty sure within the relationship, there are certain guidelines that set it behind it as well too. I'm pretty sure of it. I'm pretty sure of it. So once again, that deals with Just like what Destiny said, it deals with boundaries. You know what I'm saying? It really don't have nothing to do with a masculine role or feminine role or anything like that. It deals with boundaries. But the only pushback that I have with Destiny Point is that ultimately at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, there even in relationships, there have to be a certain order of things. There have to be a certain hierarchy of things. Okay. There have to be a certain hierarchy of things, you know what I'm saying, where ultimately the man have to be put in a position to where ultimately he can make the best choice decision for the relationship, especially a woman. The reason why I believe in this is because, once again, men, when it deals with the overall decision making and stuff or anything, right? An actual man, not a beta man, but an actual man determines his overall decision making based on logic and reasoning and what would be the best course solution or whatever type of situation or the problem. But women, on the other hand, right, they use their emotions first. They use how the way they feel in a certain situation first. Their logic and reasoning comes second. After when they done made a choice and decision, they done at the pun on it. Then finally, after when they then at the pun on it and stuff, right? After when they at the pun on the situation and stuff like that, right? Then they think about like, man, I shouldn't have never did this, because they using their emotions and feelings instead of using overall logic and reason. And this is the reason why it's important for men to come together. You know what I'm saying? Men and women that want to come together. It's for the simple fact that a man would think about things, more logically. Okay. And that man would help guide the woman to an overall decision-making choice in the relationship. It don't have nothing to do with controlling them. It don't have nothing to do with manipulation or anything like that. All it deals with that certain hierarchy of helping that relationship to be in the best optimal, peaceful relationship as possible. If that make any sense.
What do you mean by your place when you say auntie? Because
Yeah, you
what
said
Destiny's
I'm
saying
there,
that
hey.
it is an equal exchange of looking out for each other.
No, I think when
Well, with me, I'm
Mhm.
different because if I'm gonna wear a short skirt and something sexy, I'm always gonna wear it with my man.
Mhm.
Mostly I wear it at home, but if I want to go out and I say to him, "What do you think about this?" And do you know what? What Destiny said. What we've been saying is just normal respect for each other.
Mhm.
And I respect him and his decisions and his opinions, and he will respect mine. So it's not like I'm blindly following where he wants to go, because if he wanted to go somewhere or talk to certain people, like I've said to him in the past, you know what? I don't like your friends. And as a man, I will say, I'm not going to say don't go out with them. I'm saying this, watch out for this. This is what I spotted. This, and this. And I'll let him go ahead. And eventually he will know, you know what? You were right. So it's just about respect. But I find that these modern people now, they don't have the basic respect for each other in the
100.
relationship.
So what happens in
100.
lesbian relationships then? Is
I don't know.
Well, again,
It's
like, I think to be
relationship
clear,
period. It doesn't
everything that
matter.
was
if
said,
the man says,
everything,
the man says.
everything that was said is fine for relationships. There's not like a masculine, feminine. Like what you started talking about, you're going to talk to your partner. You're going to make sure that they understand where you're coming from. Hopefully, you love each other and you know each other. Hopefully, you both have each other's best interests at heart, and then you advise
But
on
I
that.
just
And
think
that's
at
it.
the end of the day, someone wears the pants. Like someone's leading and someone's following.
It's
like
no.
and sometimes
No.
and sometimes it's reversed. But at some point, like you have to trust someone's leadership.
That it's going to depend on the domain
Facts,
that
and
you
that's what I was
guys are
talking
experts in, right? So you said you were a mechanic,
Thank you.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm guessing that traditionally men are going to have the say over the car because men tend to know. But I'm guessing you probably know more than your husband does, right?
I'll
If he
get
comes
on
back
with
with a 50-pound bill for blinker fluid, you're probably going to
But you know something?
you're probably going to make fun of him, right?
But you know something, right?
Mhm.
As Pearl knows, and as you most
Before she get to this point too, now this also solidified what I was talking about as well too about the hierarchy. All right. Now, they're giving an example. Miss Auntie, she revealed that she was a mechanic at the beginning of the show, right? She's more of an expert mechanic than her husband is. Okay. So Destiny, he's using that example as far as talking about the hierarchy. All right. Meaning that when I'm talking about in terms of hierarchy, I'm talking about the overall experience, okay, in a relationship. There's some things, you know, that your significant other may know that they have experience in a certain situation than your other significant other. So by them going through their process, so you know, I done already been through the pros and cons of this. I done already been through this. I done seen what it wills, and I know the end result behind this. Therefore, I have the overall decision maker or the hierarchy to let you know that, hey, no, do not do this because this is going to be the end result of the situation. Period. But what tends to happen is this: is that with especially with modern day women is that even when you give them the status, the statistics behind it, you don't share your personal experience behind it. You just share other people's personal experience behind it as well too, and stuff, right? It still comes to the point where you know they be in their feelings. They use their feelings, how the way they feel, and they'll say things like this. They'll rebuttal and say things like this. Well, I'm not that person. I'm not that person, so it's not going to be my experience. So therefore, since I'm not that person, and I'm not quote unquote you and stuff, right? Therefore, I'm not going to have that particular experience. Period. I'm not going to have that experience. Period. So therefore, they'll make the overall decision to do it. But come to find out, after they made the decision, it ended up happening exactly how the way they said it to be. All right, end up happening to be the same exact way. So yeah, it have to just like I say in relationship, it have to be a certain hierarchy of stuff. Like even like once again, say so for example, in my relationship, right, my marriage stuff, right, there are certain things that Mrs. Urban she is an expert in, and so I will confide into her, and wherever overall decision she say about it, I trust it because I know I'm not good at it, or I know that I don't have a lot of knowledge behind it like she does. And so when she explained it to me and articulate it in that way and stuff, right, where she's not being disrespectful, she's not being controlling or anything like that, and she articulated in a way where it's respectful stuff, then yeah, I'm going to consider what she's saying, and I'm ultimately not going to do it. Vice versa. Vice versa with me. When she confined to me about certain one decision and stuff, and I'm an expert in it, I know what's going to happen and stuff, right? She's going to consider it confine it to that, like, you know what? Yeah, okay, we're not going to go that way. Then what she would do is that she'll try to she'll redirect, which I do this too as well too. We try to redirect, say, well, okay, well, if I can't do it this way, right? What about if I go by in a totally different direction? It where it still ultimately end up with the same results, but in a different way. How do you feel about this? And we consider that it's all right. Okay, well, one thing we could do is try to see if it works. But therefore, we made a decision together, saying like, okay, let's see how it's going to how it's going to pan out and see. Versus, now I'm going to do it. I don't care what you're going to say. I'm going to do what you want to. I'm going to do what I want to do. You see the difference in that, and that's where the confusion and stuff happens in relationships. By the way,
Already know. Yes, I'm a mechanic, but he's more stable-minded than me. And as you know from the shit car that I picked you up in, right? Because I must have been having a blind, non-mechanic, feminine moment where I just went in and asked for the cheapest car with 4 doors, and you saw it. The car's a piece of shit. It's for somebody single. It's not for somebody that's got 3 grandchildren, because 3 grandchildren mean fills the car. But whereas he hasn't seen the car yet because I
this
discussed it with
solidified
him.
my point
And
too.
he's going to look at me and say, why did you get that car? Yes, I could take it back, but I've decided to punish myself for being such a stupid woman and choosing such a stupid car when I was feeling in my most feminine moment. So yeah, I can do that. But whereas, even though I'm a trained mechanic, my nails, and there's certain things that he will do in the no, I won't say that. Most of the things he will do. I always say your brake light needs doing, but he expects me to do the brake light
Sure.
because I'm trained to do just the brake light.
I'm just saying that in every relationship, like both sides are going to know more things than the other side. But like, so there are going to be some things where the husband is going to have like the grand authority, but not because he's the man, but just because that's the stuff that he knows about.
Can I
The
say
same thing
something?
where
Can I
the
say
woman
something?
has like the authority because she knows about like.
You know,
the
I agree with you, but the last
something?
decision, you see, with me, we would discuss discuss stuff, and I will say this, and he will say that, and then I might be right, and he'll say, "You know what? Go with you," or he might be right, and I'll say, "Go with you." But if we come to a stalemate, I will say, "Do you know what? We're gonna go with you because the decision is all yours." Because if the shit hits the fan, me as a bitch woman, I will say, "Do you know what? You made that decision." So the final decision is always his. Whether he agrees with me or whether I agree with him, I prefer the final decision to be his because he has to deal with it.
I just think personally the ideal situation is when you're with a guy that you can trust his decision making. And I think
And
the girls
skilled.
that I see where they wear the pants in the relationship, they're miserable. Oh my God, they're miserable.
It just depends
I
on the
just say,
thing. There are plenty of women where guys wear the pants and they're miserable too. There are lots of people in miserable relationships.
Does it happen both ways? Sure, at times. I've just seen. I think that when women wear the pants, they're miserable.
Do you know something, right?
What I
And
don't
now
understand
people have
is
failed
in
to.
relationship.
Yeah, agreed. I could agree with that point too, because I know plenty of people who have came to me and like with relationship advice and stuff, right? And they say the same thing, like they're miserable because they overall feel that deep down inside they feel that overall the man should lead the relationship, which that is true. And the reason why they feel that way is because it's to be honest with you, it's part of a divine nature. It's in a woman's divine nature anyway to allow a man to lead her. But just like what Pearl was saying, and Destiny as well too, was saying that overall it comes with the trust part on that. And that's another thing too, as I make my final point about this, is that it deals with the overall trust part of that. Some of us, when we are into relationships, right, like I stated earlier, you know what I'm saying, we don't go through the process of, trying to vet out people. We don't spend time out really getting to know that person, knowing their trigger points and everything. We were so caught up with the two main things, which is the need to want to be in a relationship and the need to want to control the relationship. And so we miss out on all these other different things or opportunities that need to be discussed in a relationship, which is trust and understanding and all these other different factors as well too in the relationship. Okay. We miss out on that. So to deviate from that is that when you enter into the relationship in the beginning, you should always go and vet out that person. Don't be just settled with the first person that come and holler at you and thinking that that's your husband or thinking that that's your wife. You vet out that person. You see and figure out exactly where that person's mind is at, where their mentality at, if they're going to be a good fit for you. Especially if you, men and women, have went through the whole process of make sure that you preparing yourself to be ready and fit to be in a relationship. Because that's another thing too, is that many of us, we don't even prepare ourselves to be in relationships. We thinking that it's weird. We thinking that relationships is the same equivalent to when we become parents with children. You know the one old saying where they're saying that there's no blueprint of raising children and stuff, right? We thinking that same concept in relationship, but to be honest with you, I beg to differ on that. It is an actual blueprint to that. There's a blueprint to a relationship. There's a blueprint to you understanding those basic, simple things, which is vetting out a person, figuring out, the good, the bad about them, the triggering points, figuring out their family history and stuff, which that plays an important part of the relationship too. Their family history, their upbringing, their political and spiritual beliefs. All these different things plays a important role with you figuring out if that person is going to be a great fit for your relationship or the scheme that you believe that how the relationship should be. All these different factors. But in order for it to happen, it starts with you. It starts with you getting to an area where you're comfortable, where you're trusting only yourself, but you'll be able to trust that person in that relationship. That's where it boils down to. So my own closing thought on this on this video. If y'all haven't seen it, y'all can first of all y'all could go to Pearly Things YouTube channel and you could check out this video. The video it's entitled I believe it's entitled about feminism or something like that. You can check out the video on her page. Now I know that it was other stuff that was going on in her video. Like the controversial um, auntie walking out on the show and all this other stuff. You know what I'm saying? You can check that out on your leisure time. I'm not going to cover it because I seen it. At the end of the day, I believe that part of that was part of the clout. That is my perspective. But overall, the overall premise of this whole discussion that they was having this stuff on, I believe it was a really good show. And actually, I'm going to do it's going to be another part of a segment that I'm gonna come back again and I'm going to do a review on it. And I want to hear y'all perspective about it too. Okay. So overall, my overall perspective about this is that should a man have the overall decision making in a relationship, choice decision making? For us dealing with certain hierarchy, absolutely he should. Absolutely. For the simple fact that you should be able to confide and trust in that man. And you should trust in, his overall decision making in that relationship. Absolutely he should. But it shouldn't come to a point where he's trying to control you. Or it could be flipped, vice versa. It shouldn't come to the point where it's a controlling situation. It should be a point where y'all trust each other. Period. So y'all let me know what y'all think about this particular show. Drop it down in the comments if you agree with me or not, or if you agree with what was saying on this panel or not as well too. And like always, y'all continue to fight fates with faith, and I'll see y'all again on the next episode.